Amen. The last word Ashley Elkins ever sent to her family. A single text message that would haunt investigators for months because what happened next defied every rule of physics and logic. On January 2nd, 2025, Ashley Elkins told her family she was going to the beauty supply store, a routine errand for the 30-year-old hairstylist and devoted mother of two. But surveillance cameras captured something impossible that morning. Ashley's silver Chevrolet Malibu pulling into her ex-boyfriend's apartment complex at 7:58 a.m. The footage shows her walking toward the building, her long black coat with fur trim flowing behind her. Here's where the story becomes a nightmare. Hours later, that same security system recorded two people approaching Ashley's car. A man checks the back seat, gets in the passenger side. A woman slides behind the wheel. They drive away in Ashley's vehicle. But Ashley wasn't with them. How do you disappear from a locked apartment building in broad daylight? How does a mother vanish without a trace, leaving behind only cryptic text messages and a trail of blood that would later tell the most horrifying story imaginable? If this case already has you questioning everything you think you know about missing persons investigations, smash that like button, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment with your theory. Because what investigators discovered 7 months later, hidden in the depths of a bathtub drain, would expose a crime so calculated, so methodically planned, that it changed everything we thought we knew about this case. But the real horror wasn't Ashley's disappearance. It was what they found swirling down his drain. January 2nd, 2025. Warren, Michigan. A city where neighbors still looked out for each other, where a mother's intuition could save lives. Ashley Elkins was everything you'd want in a neighbor. At 30, she balanced running a home salon with raising 2 children as a single mother. Financial pressures weighed on her shoulders, but Ashley never let it show. She had one unbreakable rule: always answer when family called. Always. Her clients knew her as the hairstylist who'd drop everything for her kids, who'd reschedule appointments without complaint when her son needed her at school. DeAndre Booker operated in shadows. The 32-year-old ex-boyfriend had a talent for appearing harmless to strangers while setting off every alarm bell in Ashley's family. He used different names when booking appointments, showed up at doors uninvited, and possessed a charm that fooled everyone except the people who mattered most to Ashley. Monica Elkins possessed the kind of maternal radar that could detect danger 3 counties away. Ashley's mother had raised her daughter to be independent, but she'd also taught her to stay connected. When Ashley went quiet, Monica knew within minutes. 10 minutes was her limit before she'd start making calls, driving to locations, demanding answers. Then there was Ashley's 7-year-old son. A boy who still believed his mother would walk through the front door any minute, who asked his grandmother every morning when Mommy was coming home from her business trip. None of them knew that January 2nd would be the last normal morning any of them would ever experience. The timeline of January 2nd, 2025 reveals a contradiction so glaring it should have been impossible. 7:58 a.m. Security cameras at DeAndre Booker's Roseville apartment complex captured Ashley Elkins parking her silver Chevrolet Malibu. The footage shows her stepping out, dressed in her distinctive black coat, with fur-trimmed hood and black leggings, walking purposefully toward the building entrance. She carried herself with the confidence of someone keeping an appointment. 8:30 a.m. 32 minutes later, Ashley's family watched her leave their Warren home, telling them she was heading to a beauty supply store for her salon business. Her mother waved goodbye from the kitchen window. The mathematics made no sense. Ashley was already at Booker's apartment before her family claimed to see her leave home. Someone was lying, or someone was covering up the truth about where Ashley actually spent her final morning. Throughout the day, Ashley's phone generated a series of messages that her family would later describe as weird texts. The language felt off, the timing unusual. Ashley typically communicated in rapid-fire messages, sharing details about her day, her clients, her children's activities. These texts were different, sparse, formal. The final message arrived as a single word: Amen. Monica Elkins tried calling her daughter immediately. No answer. She attempted a FaceTime call, knowing Ashley never ignored video calls from family. The call went straight to a black screen. Monica tried again. Still nothing. For a woman who answered her phone during haircuts, who texted back within seconds, who stayed connected to her family like a lifeline, this silence was deafening. 12:33 p.m. The same security system that had captured Ashley's arrival recorded something far more disturbing. Two individuals approached Ashley's parked Malibu. The man walked to the rear of the vehicle, peering inside as if checking the contents. He then opened the front passenger door and settled into the seat. A woman approached from another angle, sliding behind the steering wheel. The car backed out of the parking space and drove away. Ashley Elkins was nowhere to be seen. By evening, when Ashley failed to return home for dinner with her children, her family knew with absolute certainty that something catastrophic had occurred. The woman who built her entire life around predictable schedules and constant communication had vanished from a locked apartment complex, leaving behind only her abandoned vehicle and a phone that had gone completely silent. The timeline revealed the work of someone desperately trying to control a narrative, someone who needed to buy time, someone who understood that every minute of delay meant another minute to execute a plan that had been months in the making. The investigation began with 3 discoveries that should have provided answers, but instead raised more questions. January 7th, 2025. Ashley's silver Malibu surfaced in a location that made no logical sense. Police found the vehicle parked several miles from Booker's Roseville apartment complex, abandoned on a residential street with no connection to Ashley's known routine. The car sat clean, undamaged, with no signs of struggle inside. Why drive a missing person's vehicle miles away just to abandon it? The placement felt deliberate, as if someone needed the car discovered in a specific location to support a false narrative. The second discovery came from an unexpected source: DeAndre Booker himself. On January 4th, Booker contacted police to report a possible break-in at his apartment. He claimed someone had forced entry while he was away. Officer Shane Nabozny responded to the call, expecting to document a standard burglary. Instead, Nabozny found a scene that defied explanation. The apartment door stood partially open, just as Booker had described. But no burglar in criminal history had ever broken into a home to leave behind multiple bottles of bleach positioned throughout the residence. The officer noted bleach containers in the bathroom, kitchen, and living areas. The overwhelming chemical smell hit him the moment he stepped inside. Who breaks into an apartment to clean it? The investigation expanded rapidly. Detectives canvassed every beauty supply store within a 50-mile radius of Ashley's home and Booker's apartment. Store employees reviewed security footage, checked transaction records, questioned regular customers. Not a single witness remembered seeing Ashley on January 2nd. No credit card activity. No cash purchases matching her description. Ashley's phone told an equally frustrating story. After that final "Amen" text message, her device went completely dark. No calls, no messages, no data usage, no location pings. For a woman whose phone served as her business lifeline, this digital silence was impossible to explain through normal circumstances. Meanwhile, Booker's statements to investigators shifted with each interview. First, he claimed he hadn't seen Ashley in weeks. Then he admitted she'd stopped by briefly but left quickly. Later, he suggested she might have been meeting other people at his complex. His stories contained different timelines, conflicting details, and explanations that raised more questions than they answered. Each piece of evidence revealed a pattern of calculated misdirection. The abandoned car created a false trail. The reported break-in provided an excuse for any forensic evidence found in the apartment. The missing phone eliminated digital tracking. The beauty supply store alibi sent investigators searching in the wrong locations. Someone had invested considerable time and effort into constructing a maze of false leads, dead ends, and misdirection. But every lie contained a grain of truth, and every deception left traces that would eventually point investigators toward a bathroom where the real story lay hidden beneath layers of bleach and desperation. In Ashley's home salon, her styling chair sat empty. The appointment book lay open to January 2nd, with 3 client names penciled in for the following week. Hair products remained arranged exactly as she'd left them. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator, stick figures of a family that would never be complete again. Monica Elkins faced the courthouse steps with the composure of a mother who'd spent months preparing for this moment. Her testimony cut through legal jargon and procedural delays with devastating simplicity. Ashley would never ignore my calls. Never. When she texted amen and went silent, I knew. The courtroom fell silent. In those few words, a mother had captured the precise moment intuition became certainty, when worry transformed into knowledge. Family spokesman Maurice Morton delivered an equally powerful statement to the gathered media. His voice carried the weight of collective grief and unwavering conviction. We immediately suspected DeAndre. The family believed he killed her from day one. The family's certainty wasn't based on emotion or prejudice. They'd observed the relationship dynamics, witnessed the control tactics, felt the tension that Ashley tried to hide from the world. Their suspicion emerged from intimate knowledge of how Ashley communicated, how she prioritized family contact, how she structured her daily routine around her children's needs. Vigil candles flickered in windows throughout Warren, each flame representing a community's refusal to let Ashley's memory fade. But while neighbors organized prayer circles and search parties, Monica channeled her grief into something more methodical. She kept detailed notes of every inconsistency in Booker's statements, every contradiction in the timeline, every question that investigators seemed to overlook. Her notebook filled with dates, times, observations, and connections that others missed. Monica documented everything with the precision of someone who understood that justice required evidence, not just intuition. Those handwritten pages would eventually guide investigators toward the bathroom where the truth lay hidden beneath chemical fumes and desperate lies. January 30th, 2025. Roseville Police Department. 28 days had passed since DeAndre Booker's arrest. 28 days of legal proceedings without Ashley Elkins' body. Prosecutors faced the ultimate challenge in criminal law: proving murder when the victim remained missing. Defense attorneys typically exploit this weakness, arguing that without physical remains, reasonable doubt becomes insurmountable. Officer Munafo received an unusual assignment that morning. The investigation required specialized plumbing equipment to dismantle drain systems in Booker's former apartment. Most officers would consider this tedious grunt work, far removed from the glamorous detective work portrayed in television dramas. Munafo understood the stakes differently. In cases without bodies, microscopic evidence becomes monumentally important. Hair follicles, fabric fibers, biological traces invisible to standard searches, these fragments could provide the proof that traditional evidence couldn't deliver. The logic puzzle facing investigators was deceptively simple. How do you prove murder without a body? You follow the evidence down the drain. Booker had spent considerable effort sanitizing his apartment with industrial-strength bleach. The chemical smell still lingered weeks after his arrest, testimony to the thorough nature of his cleanup operation. He'd scrubbed walls, floors, surfaces, and fixtures with the methodical precision of someone desperate to eliminate forensic traces. But drain systems present unique challenges for criminals attempting to destroy evidence. Water flows downward, carrying particles into pipes, joints, and crevices where bleach cannot penetrate effectively. Materials get trapped in mechanical spaces that remain inaccessible to standard cleaning methods. Munafo coordinated with professional plumbers to systematically remove every drain component from the kitchen sink, bathroom sink, and bathtub. The process required hours of careful disassembly, with each piece cataloged and preserved for laboratory analysis. Drop your theory in the comments. What do you think they found in that bathtub drain that changed everything? Because what emerged from those pipes would transform this case from missing person to first-degree murder. In a bathroom scrubbed with enough bleach to sterilize a hospital operating room, 3 tiny pieces of evidence had somehow survived the most thorough cleanup operation investigators had ever encountered. 3 pieces that would speak louder than any confession. Officer Munafo worked with methodical precision, disassembling the bathtub drain component by component. Each piece required careful handling to preserve any trace evidence that might have survived Booker's extensive bleach treatment. The process moved slowly, deliberately, with the weight of an entire investigation resting on what these pipes might reveal. The first discovery emerged from a curved section of the drain assembly. A clump of hair. Not the short, coarse strands you'd expect from routine maintenance, but longer strands consistent with a woman's hair. The hair had been compressed into the pipe junction, protected from the bleach that had flooded the bathroom above. The second piece defied expectations entirely. Wedged in another section of the drainage system, corroded from extended water exposure, investigators found what appeared to be a bullet fragment. The metal showed clear signs of projectile damage, its surface pitted and distorted in ways consistent with ballistic impact. The third discovery completed a horrifying picture. A silver hoop-style earring, tarnished but intact, trapped in the mechanical spaces where bleach couldn't reach. Detective Chris Moran received the laboratory results weeks later. His testimony would echo through the courthouse with devastating clarity. The Michigan State Police Crime Lab confirmed it. The blood we found on the walls, the vanity around that tub, it was Ashley's. In that moment, Ashley Elkins' family finally possessed the proof they'd carried in their hearts for 7 months. The intuition, the certainty, the unwavering belief that DeAndre Booker had killed their daughter and sister. All of it validated by 3 tiny pieces of evidence that had somehow survived the most thorough cleanup operation in criminal history. But those 3 fragments told an even darker story, one that had been meticulously documented in DeAndre Booker's own Google searches, revealing a mind that had planned this crime with chilling premeditation. Detective Chris Moran's testimony revealed the digital footprint of a mind consumed with violent fantasy. Booker's phone records from December 2024 painted a chilling portrait of premeditation. His Google search history read like a killer's manual, telling God I want to kill someone. 9mm silencer Roseville, shoot gun through pillow. Can you track location when phone is off? What happened to trash after it's picked up? Each query represented a step in methodical planning. The religious reference suggested internal justification for violence. The weapon-specific searches indicated tactical preparation. The questions about phone tracking and waste disposal revealed awareness of investigative techniques and evidence concealment strategies. Digital forensics expert Dr. Sarah Mitchell analyzed the search patterns. These queries demonstrate sophisticated criminal planning. The defendant researched silencers to reduce noise, pillow methods to muffle gunshots further, and waste management to understand body disposal logistics. This wasn't impulsive violence. This was calculated murder preparation. December 31st, 2024. DeAndre Booker booked an appointment at Ashley's home salon using a fabricated name. When he arrived, his behavior immediately raised red flags throughout the household. Instead of approaching the front door like a normal client, Booker tested multiple entry points, knocking on side doors and attempting to access different parts of the residence. Ashley recognized him immediately. Her response was swift and telling. She instructed everyone in the house to remain quiet until he left. This reaction suggested fear, previous negative encounters, or knowledge of threatening behavior that Ashley hadn't reported to authorities. Criminologist Dr. Robert Hayes provided expert analysis. The use of false identity indicates deception planning. Testing multiple entry points suggests surveillance behavior and potential escape route planning. The victim's fear response indicates she perceived genuine threat from the defendant's presence. The salon appointment represented more than harassment. It was reconnaissance. Booker was mapping Ashley's home layout, testing her security awareness, and establishing presence at her residence just days before her disappearance. Surveillance footage from January 2nd captured the most damning evidence of all: a figure pushing a shopping cart toward apartment complex dumpsters. The cart appeared to contain a large object covered by white sheeting. The individual struggled significantly while transferring the covered item into the waste container. Detective Moran testified about the physical evidence correlation. The subject in the video wore a black coat with fur-trimmed hood, black pants, black shoes, and a black beanie. When we arrested Booker and Flint, these exact clothing items were found in the residence, and the black coat contained dried blood droplets. Video analysis expert Jennifer Walsh examined the footage frame by frame. The subject's body mechanics indicate lifting a heavy, unwieldy object. The struggle pattern is consistent with moving dead weight rather than rigid materials. The careful positioning and repeated adjustment attempts suggest the subject was handling human remains. The shopping cart incident occurred hours after surveillance showed two people driving away in Ashley's vehicle. The timeline supported prosecution theories. Ashley was killed in the apartment. Her body was concealed and transported via shopping cart, then disposed of in the dumpster system that fed into Pine Tree Acres landfill. Booker's post-crime digital behavior provided equally incriminating evidence. After Ashley's disappearance while hiding in Flint, his search history revealed consciousness of guilt and escape planning. Fastest routes from Flint to Ohio. What to do on the run. Is blood traceable? How to beat a polygraph test. Deleting Google search history. These searches demonstrated awareness of criminal liability and active attempts to evade justice. The geographic queries suggested flight preparation. The forensic questions indicated knowledge of physical evidence that could implicate him. The polygraph research revealed anticipation of formal interrogation. Criminal psychology expert Dr. Michael Torres analyzed the pattern. Post-crime search behavior typically reflects the perpetrator's psychological state and practical concerns. These queries demonstrate classic consciousness of guilt. The defendant knew he'd committed murder and was researching escape methods and evidence concealment techniques. The digital evidence formed an unbreakable chain connecting premeditation, execution, and cover-up. Booker's own searches provided prosecutors with a detailed confession written in Google queries, revealing not just what he'd done, but how extensively he'd planned to get away with it. Every search represented another nail in the coffin of his defense, another piece of evidence that Ashley Elkins hadn't simply disappeared. She'd been systematically murdered by someone who'd spent weeks preparing for her death and months trying to escape consequences. The final pieces of Ashley Elkins' last day formed a timeline of calculated murder that unfolded in just 4 hours and 35 minutes. 7:58 a.m., Ashley Elkins parks her silver Malibu at DeAndre Booker's apartment complex. Surveillance captures her walking toward the building entrance, alive, trusting, completely unaware that she's walking into a trap that's been weeks in the making. 8:30 a.m., Ashley's family watches someone they believe is Ashley leave their Warren home, heading to a beauty supply store. But Ashley is already inside Booker's apartment. The timeline contradiction suggests either mistaken identity or deliberate misdirection to establish a false alibi. Sometime between 8:30 a.m. and 12:33 p.m., the violence erupts in Booker's bathroom. The bullet fragment found in the drain tells the story of a gunshot fired in that confined space. Ashley's blood on the walls, vanity, and around the bathtub indicates a struggle, impact, and immediate bleeding. The positioning suggests she was attacked near the tub, possibly while attempting to escape or during an ambush. The cleanup begins immediately. Booker floods the bathroom with industrial bleach, scrubbing walls, floors, and surfaces in a frantic attempt to eliminate forensic evidence. But 3 microscopic pieces escape his attention, lodging in drain components where chemicals cannot reach. Hair, bullet fragment, earring. Body disposal follows quickly. The shopping cart footage captures Booker struggling with a covered object, his movements labored and desperate. The timing coincides with the missing hours between Ashley's arrival and the next confirmed sighting of her vehicle. 12:33 p.m., 2 people approach Ashley's abandoned Malibu. The man checks the rear seat, examining the space where Ashley's body likely traveled from apartment to dumpster. They drive away in her car, beginning the final phase of the cover-up operation. The car abandonment creates a false trail. By parking Ashley's vehicle miles from the apartment complex, Booker attempts to suggest she left voluntarily, traveled elsewhere, and disappeared from a different location entirely. Present-day courtroom proceedings reveal Booker's continued attempts at manipulation and intimidation. He refuses to dress appropriately for legal proceedings, screams when court audio systems unmute his microphone, and engages in disruptive behavior designed to intimidate witnesses testifying against him. Judge Joseph Bodecker maintains control despite Booker's theatrical outbursts, allowing testimony to continue via video link while ensuring Booker can observe proceedings from lockup. The defendant's behavior provides additional evidence of his character and potential for violence. If you're still watching, you're one of us. Smash that like button and share this case, because justice depends on people caring enough to pay attention to the details that prosecutors need to secure convictions. The stakes couldn't be higher. Without Ashley's physical remains, this entire case rests on 3 tiny pieces of evidence that survived the most thorough cleanup operation in recent criminal history. Hair, metal, and jewelry, fragments so small they could fit in a teaspoon, yet powerful enough to support first-degree murder charges. Combined with Booker's damning Google search history, these microscopic survivors represent the difference between justice and impunity, between accountability and escape, between a family getting answers and a killer walking free. 3 pieces of evidence, 1 digital confession. Everything depends on convincing 12 jurors that Ashley Elkins died violently in that bathroom, even though her body remains hidden somewhere in the vast Michigan landscape. DeAndre Booker now faces first-degree premeditated murder charges, held without bond at Macomb County Jail. His preliminary examination continues despite his disruptive courtroom behavior, with Judge Joseph Bodeker maintaining proceedings through video link to prevent further intimidation attempts. The legal system moves forward, but Ashley's physical location remains unknown. For 7 days in January 2025, investigators combed through Pine Tree Acres landfill in Lenox Township, following the trail from Booker's apartment dumpster to the facility where waste from his complex ultimately arrives. Searchers discovered look-alike items that required laboratory analysis, but Ashley Elkins herself was never recovered from the vast expanse of buried refuse. The landfill search highlighted the cruel mathematics of body disposal. Millions of tons of waste, constantly shifting and compacting, creating conditions where human remains can disappear permanently, despite extensive efforts to locate them. Questions persist that may never receive answers. Where exactly are Ashley's remains? Did she realize what was happening in those final moments? What words were exchanged in that bathroom before violence erupted? These mysteries will likely accompany the case through trial and beyond. Ashley's 7-year-old son continues asking when mommy will come home. His grandmother struggles to explain concepts like forever and never again to a child whose world revolved around bedtime stories and morning hugs that will never happen again. The boy keeps Ashley's photograph on his nightstand, talking to her image each night before sleep. Monica Elkins walks into courthouse hearings carrying a worn notebook filled with meticulous documentation of every inconsistency, every contradiction, every lie that DeAndre Booker told during the investigation. Her handwritten pages guided investigators toward crucial evidence and continue supporting prosecution efforts. Subscribe to TCI Crime Stories for our next case and tell us in the comments, should no body murder cases result in the same charges as traditional homicides? Share your thoughts on how justice should proceed when physical evidence is limited. Sometimes the smallest evidence speaks the loudest. 3 microscopic pieces, hair, metal, jewelry, survived a killer's desperate cleanup operation, washing away his perfect crime down the drain where bleach couldn't reach and justice finally could.